Hello, hello. Hope you are doing well and you're having a lovely day. In today's video, I wanted to talk about my autism diagnosis report, and I'm going to be showing it on screen and just going through it really, seeing how I feel about it, if some things make sense, some things don't make sense, and just to see really what the official medical opinion was of a qualified assessor. And I think it'll just be interesting to go through. I did go through it briefly. I only received this report recently, so this will be going through it in depth, really, and just seeing how I feel about it. So let's do it. Should be fun. All right, so should be able to see me and should be able to see the report. Obviously, I'm going to be blurring some of this out for privacy reasons, as I'm sure you understand. But I'll leave everything else in. All right, so let's start. I would like to kindly inform you that I have performed an online autism spectrum disorder assessment on me on behalf of Psychiatry UK. So that's who I was referred to through the right to choose that we have here in the UK. The assessment was initiated by me as I have been wondering whether I may have ASD given the difficulties I've had and have experienced and the research that I have conducted in the last years. Yeah, I definitely researched a lot, especially just after having some suspicions about maybe I could have ASD and encountering my autistic colleague. I researched for years, which ironically is something that autistic people do. Prior to the assessment, he had also been sent an ASD self-report pre-assessment questionnaire, autism spectrum quotient, and informant report questionnaires in order to get additional information on early developmental history, social interaction, communication skills and routines, repetitive behaviors, sensitivities and reaction to change. Yeah, they sent a lot of forms. It was very in-depth. And like they said, an informant form as well, which my mother filled in. This information is also part of the assessment considered in the report, and it can be made available on request. Oh, I didn't know that. He scored 10 in AQ10. I don't know if that's high or low. I don't know. Suggesting the presence of significant autistic traits. Oh, must be high. Assessment. 37 years old, lives with his mother. He has a boyfriend. He does not have children. All true. He is unemployed. He is not currently enrolled in education or pursuing education. This is also true. I would love to work, but I've had so many issues over the years, which I now know can be attributed to autism. I'm not sure how to move forward with that, to be honest. Remote work would be amazing, but it seems very difficult to achieve. Well, not achieve, it's just difficult to find those sorts of jobs, which sucks because it would help me a lot, but such is life. He does not have any friends. He's not socially very active. I didn't say any. I said I have one good friend, and I have some people that I sort of speak to every now and then, but they don't really seem to want to have a relationship. So I would say I have one friend. He has historically struggled to make and form friendships, very true. He prefers communicating virtually as he can take his time with messages. He does not attend any social activities, groups, or clubs in his free time. That's a bit wrong. I didn't say I prefer communicating virtually. I said that I just find it a bit easier because, like, especially through text as well, I'm allowed to take my time. I don't have to just there isn't that time pressure. So I just said that I find it easier online. I'm not sure if I prefer it. Yeah, I don't really attend anything social. I did for a while, but it was very tiring. And I sort of haven't recovered yet. I haven't recovered my social energy to try that again, but I would like to. I'd like to get back into some more social things. So we'll see. So now we are on to personal history. So his parents separated when he was 3 years old. He has 2 siblings and 3 half siblings. True. I have a big family. It says my niece has been diagnosed with ASD as well as my aunt. This isn't true. When he asked me, he asked about disabilities and ASD being in my family. And what I said was, my niece is pursuing a diagnosis. She's in the middle of it, so I didn't say she had been diagnosed. So that's wrong. And the aunt thing is just totally wrong. He was asking about disabilities, and my aunt was severely disabled. So I explained that to him, but I didn't say she had ASD. So those are both kind of wrong, actually. That's a bit concerning. Perhaps I should contact them, because that ain't right. Next we have developmental milestones. There were no unusual features or complications reported during pregnancy or at birth. He is not sure about the method of birth. This is true. He reached most developmental milestones, walking, talking, within the time range to be expected. Also true. Something he doesn't mention here, actually, though, that I said to him, I had weird speech patterns when I was younger. I spoke on time, and that milestone was achieved, but I had odd patterns. Like, I even remember it. Something I would say a lot. Instead of saying, can I have, I would just say my name. So I would say, can I have some milk? I would say, me some milk. I had a few weird speech patterns. If a word ended in G, I had difficulties, and I still kind of do, actually. Like, for example, here, walking and talking. I remember I would say walking, and talking. And I still have to really be conscious and make an effort about that. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at age 16. Yes, sadly. I think I mentioned that in my diagnosis video. I had cancer when I was 16. He received 8 months of chemotherapy. He's in remission. Yes, this is very true. He liked playing video games. He was highly fascinated about some video games. He loved reading. This is all still true. Video games has been a special interest of mine through my whole life, and it still is. And to be honest, I had just a terrible childhood, and games helped me escape a lot. He does not describe pretending or imaginative games. That's true. He did ask me about that. He's like, did you ever pretend or no, I didn't have imaginative games like that. He was hyperfixated on dinosaurs. He says that was his thing. Yeah, surprise, surprise. I was a dinosaur kid. It's a bit different now. I still sort of am. But now it's more specific. It's like living fossils. Things like horseshoe crabs, that's a big interest of mine at the moment. So I'm still kind of like that, it's just changed a bit. He did not initiate games with other children. He did not have the same interest than most people his age. He found it difficult to approach other children who preferred playing on his own. Yeah, it just never went well. They were never into the same thing that I was. He was easily overloaded when exposed to common noises or smells, but also body contact. Yeah, I really didn't like hugs as a child. I have quite a few photos of my sisters picking me up and wanting to hug me. And I used to do this thing when I was younger where I would just put my arms up like that. So I would just slip out, so they couldn't hold me. they couldn't hug me. I would just slip out of their hands. Yeah, that has changed, which is quite weird. I really like a sort of pressure hug, like a big hug. But I don't like light touch, actually. If someone just sort of does that, like really lightly, or they give you a light hug, it's like, no thanks, I don't like it. He reports being very sensitive to changes. He could not be late. He was highly distressed if diverted from his usual habits. Yeah, I still have a thing about being late. If someone says arrive at 3, I arrive at 3. I wouldn't be late often in primary school, and I mean, to be honest, if I was, it wasn't my fault. But I would have an absolute meltdown if I was late, and I'm still like that. I really, really don't like it. It stresses me out a lot. He recalls some examples of it. He found it hard to enjoy if going on holidays. He was overwhelmed in social gatherings or parties. Yep, all true. Preschool and primary school experiences. He found nursery very bright and chaotic. He did not connect with other kids. He was very quiet. He did not understand the rules or how to do it, he adds. He played on his own. He preferred to stay in the reading corner. Yeah, I remember rehearsing conversations a lot, and they just never went well, and the kids were never interested, so I kind of just did my own thing, and I didn't really initiate much with them after a while. I realised my energy was kind of wasted. He was bullied in primary school. He felt he did not belong. He was often on his own. He continued to have issues to connect with most of his peers. He was socially isolated. Very true. All of that true. He was not tested I think that means for. He was not tested for any intellectual difficulties in primary school. He was an average student. Yeah. I just did what I was supposed to do, and um, I didn't perform badly, I didn't perform great, I was just right in the middle. Secondary school and college experiences. He struggled to navigate social dynamics. He found the change very difficult to adapt to. He was often anxious. He pretended to be ill. Yeah, going from primary school to secondary school was awful. It was so stressful. I just couldn't handle the change. It was so different. Completely new environment. So many new people. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how anything worked. It was a new place to travel to. I just really struggled. And I did pretend to be ill a lot just to stay home. He was confused when in groups. He was bullied. He could not tell others true intentions. He felt like an outcast. He only had one friend who stopped talking to him after some time. Yeah, that's true. I had one friend in primary school for a few years, maybe. And then they just stopped speaking to me and then would pretend they couldn't see me and stuff. And that was the end of that. I don't know why. He recalls missing jokes or sarcasm. He took things as face value. Yeah. Especially just like being in the British culture, there's so much sarcasm and like passive aggressiveness and hidden messages and underhanded comments, and it's just a minefield. I don't know what people are talking about. Like, I don't know. I just don't know if they're being serious or if they're joking. It's so difficult for me to tell. I was definitely born into the wrong culture. He was sensory overloaded. He found it hard to cope academically. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay, I don't know why they said that again in that place. That's pretty weird. He found academics difficult and he had cancer. Kind of a weird place to put that. I don't know why they did that. Following secondary school, he went into work, but when he was 27, he went back to university and completed a computer. He just says computer science. I completed a bachelor's degree in computer science. I got a first actually. Yeah. He continued to show significant difficulties to cope with the social side of university. He was also sensory overwhelmed if in busy or crowded places. He could not concentrate when in lectures. Lectures were pointless to me, complete waste of my time. They were so loud and so bright, and I've never been able to learn just from sitting there listening to someone. I need to actively do things. But I legally had to be there. It was really stupid. They didn't really treat us like adults, the adults that we were. They kind of treated us like kids, which I did not appreciate. So I had to be there legally, waste hours a day traveling to lectures. And what I would have to do is, when I get home, I could read through the lectures on my own. And then in that way, I could actually learn and take in the information. But being physically present at a lecture was just all negative. Employment experiences. He has worked as a games tester or as a software developer. I've worked as both. I don't know why he said or. His last job was an English teacher in 2022. Yes, that's true. He feels he is still in burnout. Absolutely. I've had a rough 5-6 years. Lots of job losses. I lost my whole career. Health issues. So much fun stuff. As he says here, he suffered from different medical problems in recent years. He says he never understood how to get along with work colleagues. He finds office a difficult environment. He gets sensory overloaded, unable to process information. Yeah, offices are just hellish. They're loud, they're bright, people interrupt you constantly. I have to deal with this, like, I just want to do my job and I have to deal with this weird social, like, political game, like office politics. And there's hierarchies that I don't understand, and you can't call out people for doing, like, a bad job, even though that's the job. It's just a nightmare. He finds it difficult to understand people's non-verbal communication and often misreads facial expressions and body language. He hardly expresses adequately communicative information when in spontaneous social encounters. He dislikes small talk or chit-chat conversations as it is much harder to grasp where the conversation goes and acts accordingly. I think that's a very common autistic trait. Just, I cannot stand small talk. It's just the most inane waste of time, mindless, boring, pointless thing. I don't get it. It's like, hi, how was the weather? The weather's happening like it does every day. I don't know. Why are you forcing me to come up with these answers? I don't know. He cannot keep eye contact and concentrate in the conversation. He appears to significantly struggle in modulating, integrating his voice, rhythm of speech, its rise and fall, energy and intonation, and his gestures when in a social encounter according with the setting. Yeah, I agree with all of that. I struggle with eye contact a lot. Um, Even now, like I'm looking into the lens of a camera, which isn't an eye, but still in my brain it's registering as an eye because I know that there are eyes on the other side. So I even have difficulty with like camera lens contact. I still see it as an eye, so I'm still looking away a lot, as I'm sure you've noticed. So that's something that I am working on, but eye contact is very difficult for me, for sure, and I really try to avoid it. And you also mentioned my voice. I've just had a lot of differing opinions and mentions about my voice over the years. I really try to just make it have inflection and a rise and fall, but I've heard everything from your voice is super monotone and annoying to listen to. And then on the other side, I've also heard like, oh, you have a really smooth, calming voice. It's quite nice to listen to. It almost has an ASMR quality to it. So I've just heard everything from every extreme. So I don't really know how I come across to people with my voice, to be honest. I'm not sure. He hardly decodes complex emotions and feelings. It appears it is extremely hard to express them. He gets typically overwhelmed and ends up crying or shutting down. That's also a bit strangely worded. I do shut down a lot and I just go non-verbal. I don't know, I mean I have cried at times, but I don't think that's a usual thing. So it's a bit strangely worded, but I mean I suppose it's true. Just a bit of a strange sentence. He also finds it difficult to interact with other people as he gets easily overwhelmed and overloaded with information, at which stage his mind shuts off. Very true. Partly for this reason, he avoids social interaction. He dislikes groups of people as he finds it too difficult to understand the group dynamics, partly as he worries in case he gets it wrong. I find it difficult enough to keep up with a one-to-one conversation. Group dynamics are just a completely alien thing to me. So confusing, and some things just go over my head. I just don't understand social dynamics and hierarchies at all. Routines and rigidity. He needs excessive sense of control and predictability. That's a bit weird. I don't know if control is right, but predictability, yes. He develops behavioral and mental rigidities, which provides comfort and a sense of safeness. He reports OCD symptoms. The use of certain words associates certain movements. Oh yeah, this is what I tried to explain to him, but it was difficult because I didn't really know what the right terms were. But I now know that it's finger spelling, I think they call it. So like I do, I spell. It's as if there's a keyboard in the air, and I spell words on a keyboard. It's right. He's correct. I spell words with my fingers. He performs many common habits in order and in certain periods of the day. If not performed his way, he feels his day is ruined or derailed. His possessions need to be in certain places. Yeah, I'm very organized and I don't like if my things are moved. And I do have I suppose it is a routine, but it isn't strict. I just have an order that I like to do things in the day. So I like to work out in the morning. I like to try and do work like this in the afternoon. I like to enjoy my special interests more in the evening. I like to eat at a certain time, shower at a certain time. Yeah, that's all true. When having to go somewhere new or doing something new, he mitigates the chance of unexpected things to happen as much as he can. He carefully prepares himself mentally and practically, intending to recreate alternative scenarios and its possible consequences to be prepared in case of unexpected situation arise. That was a very weird sentence. I understand what you're saying though, and it's true. If I have to go somewhere new or do something new, I practice the route that I need to take to get there. And I also practice several other routes just in case something goes wrong. His main interests revolve around video games, dinosaurs, music, but also learning different languages. They are prescribed as mentally consuming, to the point his life revolves around them, at least for a period. Yeah, they get very intense. Games, dinosaurs. Dinosaurs is a bit more specific now, but it's true. Music is also true. Music has been a love of mine for my whole life, and now it's also a bit more specific. I really like synthwave music or 80s music. He is extremely sensitive to light, sound, smell, touch, texture, or temperature. These sensitivities associate unusual emotional or physical responses most of the people do not have when exposed to the same sensory stimuli. Yeah, they vary in their extremity for sure. Sound is like the most extreme thing to me, the thing I'm most sensitive to. I'd say smell is the least sensitive. So they vary in sensitivities, but yeah, that's all true. Daily living activities. He can live independently and do most of the daily activities, although he often needs assistance to manage his money, make appointments, or using public transport. I think making appointments is the only thing that's correct there, because I do need help with that, and it's just I hate being on the phone and making appointments. It's awful. Money, I don't know why that came up. I don't remember mentioning money. Public transport. Maybe he mentioned public transport because I just said commuting is difficult for me. Just traveling, being in public is difficult. So perhaps that's why that turned up. Psychiatric history, depression. The end. Medical history, Hodgkin's lymphoma, myocarditis, heart attack 2019, stroke 2023. He had a procedure to close a hole in his heart in 2024. True. Current medication, nothing. Alcohol or drugs, nothing. Forensic history, nothing. Mental state examination. He was interested and motivated during the interview. He was able to sustain adequate normal levels of attention to conduct this assessment. Eye contact was not sustained. I actually asked him before we started, which felt a bit rude, but it was important for me to bring it up. I said, is it okay if I don't make eye contact? Because it's easier for me to understand what you're saying and take that information in if I am not making eye contact. If I'm doing both, I can't really focus on the conversation. He let me do that. I didn't have to make eye contact, which was very helpful, actually. He stimmed with his hands. He did appear anxious. Yes, I was doing this the whole time. He was perceived as emotionally flat and factual. His speech was not severely abnormal. Oh, lovely. It was just abnormal, not too severe. Although monotonous in tone, rhythm, and low in emotional reactivity, it was induced and coherent in content. No formal thought disorder observed. The rest of this is basically just the same thing that he said, but this bit is a little different, so I wanted to read over this. His present difficulties often cause significant limitations in overall functioning, negatively impacting his quality of life and predisposing him to develop further psychiatric comorbidities. He has developed comorbid disorders, anxiety and depression. This is true. I've had depression my whole life. I was actually diagnosed with dysthymia, which I think now they call chronic depression. And to be honest, I'm wondering if I need to revisit that, because now that I have autism, perhaps it wasn't chronic depression the whole time. I don't know. That's something that I'll have to speak to the GP about. But I have felt depressed for as long as I can remember, to be honest, and it's a constant thing. Diagnosis. Based on the evidence available for the assessment, including the pre-assessment questionnaires, it is my opinion that he fulfills the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for autism spectrum disorder. These difficulties have been long-standing, starting in childhood, and they cannot be better explained by learning disability or global developmental delay. So, there you have it. There were a few things that I disagreed with, a few things that were written kind of badly, but overall I kind of agree with what he said, to be honest. He was a very good doctor, and I thought it would be interesting to read my diagnostic report with you guys, and perhaps to give you guys an idea of what this report looks like and the sort of things that they'll ask and the sort of things that they are looking for. So as usual, thank you very much. I super appreciate you. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you'd like any more information about this, please comment. I would love to talk more. And I just hope that it was educational or informative in some way. So I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll be back soon with another video. Thank you. Bye bye.